lesson 1 of our improvisation series using Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. In today's lesson, we'll focus on how to improvise in C major. We'll also explore some key techniques that will enhance your musical creativity. Please note that this is a beginner's approach to learning improvisation. If you have a desire to improvise, even if you've been playing the piano for some time, these simple techniques can help you get started on your improvisation journey. Many aspiring musicians think that improvisation is reserved for the chosen few, but in reality, anyone can develop the skill with practice. I found my way to improvisation after mastering the basics of scales and chords, and I can't wait to share these insights with you. Firstly, this entire series is based on my piano keyboard primary chord guide, which has all the scales and the 3 primary chords for each scale in the standard music notation, pictorial form, and easy to read keyboard diagrams. You can grab the instant download PDF right now from our store using the first link in the description below. We'll be playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in the key of C major, which has this key signature. That means it has only white keys, no black keys at all. In C major, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star will use just 3 chords, and those are the primary chords. In the left hand, this is the way we'll play the chords. So it'll be the C chord, the F chord, we'll either play it like that, or we'll play it like that, and then the G7 chord, we'll play it like that, and then back to the C chord. Now, with this foundation in place, let's explore our improvisation techniques. So our first improvisation technique is adding some energy with the left hand by using what we call split chords. This focuses on making the left hand accompaniment a little bit more interesting, which basically serves 2 main functions. Number 1, it's harmonic support. So the melody notes should share at least one note with a chord to create a harmony. So when I'm playing the static chord position, tell me which note is in common. It's the C. When I go to the G, it's the G of the chord. When I go to the next chord, which is my F chord, when I go back down to the C, those are the notes that are in common. When I go down to the C again, the E is in common with the C chord, and then G7. Notice I'm not playing the D over here. If I play the D over here, it becomes a very strong sound, and I don't want that. This is a much softer sound. And then I end on the C. Every time I play a chord or a melody note, there's a note in common. That creates a nice harmony. It also creates a good foundation for the right hand. The split chord texture is going to still keep that harmony, but there's going to be a little bit more activity in the left hand. The other function that the split chord texture will have is rhythmic support. So using a split chord texture adds a rhythmic foundation, giving your music more activity and variety compared to static chords, as you see we used before. Now this static chord texture is okay because it creates a good harmony with the right hand, but we can play the left hand in a way that sounds a little bit more rhythmical. It's almost like having a drummer in a band who all he does the whole time is just play the kick bass the whole time, the whole way through. And he doesn't use the snare, doesn't use the toms, he doesn't use the cymbals. There's no other rhythmical variation. And this is what we want to create in our Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So split chord texture is basically where you've taken the sustained chord and you've split it up between the bass note and the other 2 notes above it. So this is the bass note of the chord, and that's the 2 top notes of the chord. So instead of playing your song like this, what I'm going to be doing is this. Okay. Now you'll probably wonder why I'm moving up there to play the F when I can actually play the F like this. And simply because there's a little bit of a clash in the right hand with that note. So listen to this. So I feel it's better to go to what we call a root position chord, and then you can just move down. notice over here, instead of playing the G7 like that, I played it like that. It just sounds much better, especially at the end of the phrase, to give a more solid bass note. And then the second line. So there's my first improvisation technique. It's basically just taking the left hand and making it a little bit more interesting. The best way to practice it is to practice it on its own. You take the chord symbol that you see at the top of the music and you play the C chord like this. Then if you see an F chord, then you put your pinky on the F. If you see a C chord, you put your pinky on the C. Now we're going to play the G7. Here and there in the music, we are going to play the bass note, and there's a good reason for that. But now let's move on to our second improvisation technique. This is where we're going to add a little bit more of a rhythmic spin to our right hand. It's normally what I call like jazzing it up. Now you'll notice in the original melody of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, you have repeat notes. And you also have a leap, which you're going from the C up to the G. Then you're stepping up, and then you're stepping down, but in repeats. Those are the normal techniques that one uses in any melody. You'll have repeat notes, you'll have skips or jumps, or you'll have steps up or steps down. To make the melody a little bit more interesting, we are going to alter the rhythmical feel of the melody by giving it like a jazzy style feel. So instead of playing the melody straight quarter notes like we have been doing, we're going to use a dotted note like this. Basically creates this little pattern. Long, short, 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 long, short, short, short. Now that last bar, I'm going to add a little bit more of a rhythm there, simply because it's the last bar. And instead of just the normal, I'm going to go. Nothing much, I'm just adding 2 quavers there. So the last line is going to go like this. And I slow it down a little bit, just to indicate that it's the last bar of the piece of music. Now I can also do this with that last bar. Instead of just making it what we call straight 8ths, I'm going to go. Give it a little bit of a dotted rhythm. So if I play the whole line again. These are the straight 8ths, and this is the dotted. Okay, so there's your second improvisation technique that you can apply to make your improvisation and your songs a little bit more interesting. Improvisation technique number 3 is adding some extra notes, which gives the music or the original melody a little bit more flair, a little bit more interest and variety. So when incorporating these additional notes, it is important to be very cautious with the rhythm. We'll be using what we call non-chord notes. Remember in the beginning when we spoke about chords in the melody? Those are notes that belong to the chord. Now, we're going to be using non-chord notes, or another way of saying it is passing notes. They don't belong to the chord. They don't match the chords we're playing in the left hand. So passing notes are designed to basically pass by subtly, often going unnoticed as we focus on the main tune. Remember that any melody can consist of only chord notes, which are notes that are in common with the chords in the left hand, or a melody that consists of a combination of chord notes and non-chord notes. And usually the non-chord notes are our passing notes, which facilitate the smooth transition of notes from chord note to chord note. So passing notes basically embellish the melody. It makes our music more interesting. Passing note is usually linked to a chord note. So if I had to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and put some passing notes in it, what I'm doing is I'm using the melody note, then there's a passing note in between. A passing note is always connected to a melody note, but it's a note that is not in common with the chord. So in this first bar, which is, it's just a C, it's a very simple melody, a C and then a G. And the prevailing chord, the main chord, is a C chord. Now you tell me which notes belong to the C chord. It's a C and a G. It's the two main melody notes. But now I'm using other notes in between to get to the main melody note. So remember, it's... Now I'm going to go... So I've still got the melody of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but I've embellished it. I've made it a little bit more interesting. And I've used a simple technique by using my 5-finger exercise. Okay. Now, which notes are not in common? That's a passing note. Now that note E, it belongs to the chord, but it's also a passing note because it's not in the main melody. The main melody doesn't go like this. That belongs to another melody. No, the main melody is from a C to a G, but I'm using the D, the E, and the F in between to get to the G. The E is a passing note, but it also is a chord note. The D is a passing note, but it's not a chord note. Doesn't sound too good. Okay? That sounds good. So I'm going to go... So what I've done there, I've taken the first bar. So people think I'm going to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and they all know the tune, but now suddenly I come out with this. Now what I'm going to do is, in the second bar, so here's the two melody notes. But in between I'm going to use a passing note. And this is actually what we call an upper neighboring note. Okay, don't worry too much about the terminology. It's still a type of passing note. So it embellishes it. This third bar I'm going to go. Here's the original melody. Now there's two ways that I can approach this. First one is or I can go So to recap, remember our first improvisation technique was creating a little bit of interest in our left hand. Instead of having static chords, we used the split chord texture. Then, the second improvisation technique was creating a little bit of a rhythmic, jazzy feel in the right hand. So instead of playing it straight quarter notes, I gave it a dotted rhythm, okay, which was long, short, short, long, short, short, long. And remember the ending, instead of playing it, I gave it 2 straight eighths. Or dotted. Third improvisation technique is adding some extra notes to our melody, which will be passing notes. So instead of playing, I went. Okay, so I've added in passing notes with the melody notes to make it sound interesting. If I played the left hand with it, whole song, to give it that sort of final touch, I'm going to change the last bar. So instead of going, I'm going to go, it just ends it really well. It gives it that final touch. There's so many ideas going through my mind at the moment. I just want to like go crazy, but I don't want to make it hectically difficult for people that really want to just start. And my advice to you is just start playing around. But remember, you need to know your scales and you need to know your chords. That is vital. That is very important. See you in the next lesson, where we are going to be playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in D major.